The date is Friday, July 30th, and you're listening to Entertain This, a thought-provoking podcast encapsulating all things entertainment. A burlesque is a literary, dramatic, or musical work intended to cause laughter by caricaturing the mannerisms or spirit of serious works, or by ludicrous treatment of their subjects. The word derives from the Italian burlesco, which in turn is derived from the Italian burla, a joke, ridicule, or mockery. But you know what's not a joke? The hard work that goes into those shows. We brought on Hattie from Cincinnati's own Smoke and Queers to talk about all things burlesque and drag, as well as putting on a burlesque show. So enjoy! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your favorite show on the internet, encapsulating all things entertainment. Let's entertain this.
Entertain this.
As always, I am Alex.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Chloe.
And I think I may have forgotten to do that last week. It feels like I forgot to. It's weird
You've
to
been
call
on
it
a
out
good streak.
a week later. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't remember, but I feel guilt and anxiety about it. So I think I might not have.
Do you want to just do it again and then you can atone for the one that you missed?
I know for a fact that on your first episode, Chloe, when you started kind of hosting with us, I made us do it twice. And I definitely included both of them because we were trying to get the feel of adding your name in there to associate the beat. So I definitely have an extra one in the gun in case I forgot. So I think overall we're about even on.
So you can be absolved of your guilt.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If somebody has the holy water of podcasting, which I'm pretty sure is just like a vitamin water or something, please.
It's Monster.
Please come in. That's true. Please come and absolve me of my podcast sin. Anyway, thank you. Does that steam raising off of me? Like I'm possessed.
It felt right.
If it felt right, it must have been right. Anyway, the month of July, the beautiful middle of summer, what we all look forward to all year round, is sadly, but unstoppably coming to a close. We are finding ourselves at the very end, and to celebrate the going of every month, as we so often do, this sounds like a eulogy. We have a guest that we're going to bring on, and hopefully clear up some of the dead air I created from this eulogy. Now, Chloe, we actually assigned you the honor and respect of finding us a guest for this month, since you so aptly stood in the place of Nick as host, and we wanted to open the opportunity to you to bring on someone. So I'm going to let you take the helm from here to introduce our guest for this month.
I met this lovely person because of the Cincinnati Fringe Festival. A little bit of a plug here. We both did a show called Texas Annie, Legend of the Lone Ranger, and you are meeting Annie herself, Hattie themselves, the myth, the legend, the gay disco cowboy.
Wow.
Was that good?
Yeah.
So, hold on. We prep before these episodes. I want to be clear. We do talk before these episodes. And we talked to Hattie, and never did it come up that they were the official Texas Annie. I didn't know that we had the Texas Annie on our show. That's huge, actually.
Yeah. For our visual audience. This is Texas Annie.
Let's give a little bit of clarity. Let's give a little bit of clarity to our audio audience as to what exactly Texas Annie was/is.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it to you two to sort of give a brief synopsis, since you both participated in the show.
Indeed.
Yeah, so once upon a time in a land called Texas, they passed a law that says you can't have 6 or more sex toys or it's a felony. So our writers...
Also selling, distributing... that kind of thing.
All the things.
Also
All the
illegal.
things. So anyway, our writers found that law out and wrote this little show about it. It was originally supposed to be a screenplay, but Hollywood was like, we're not really vibing it. So turned it into a stage play. and
A musical, in fact.
a musical. Yes. It gives Rocky Horror vibes in a way.
It's camp.
And it's so camp. It was fun. It was really fun. But
Yeah, so we put that show on through the Cincinnati Fringe Festival, and we might be doing it later this year, possibly remounting the show. But it's very sex positive.
Remounting was something you
I use that word
chose to
so
say.
intentionally. Okay,
I wanted to make sure that it wasn't an accident, but remounting is definitely like if.
No,
it's
it's
kind of
intentional.
It's giving SpongeBob rehydrated vibes, like Texas Annie remounted, and that's just like that's so incredible for me.
Yeah,
and I love that. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, specifically the show, like Annie is a person who starts delivering sex toys. I don't think I mentioned that, but anyways,
she becomes the Moan Ranger because her trunk's full of dildos.
The Moan Ranger,
Yeah.
incredible. I think this is the show that I think we went and saw it together, Alex.
We
did a benefit in
version
2019 or
of
early
it.
2020. Yes.
it was
I
early
was drunk.
2020.
Mhm.
I was drunk. It was my birthday, and I
That's
did
right.
not purchase a felt Trump puppet that night. But had I think I'd be on a different path than I'm on now. I think my life would have altered entirely had I received that puppet.
2 branches. Bought the puppet,
Yeah.
didn't buy the puppet.
Yes. And they're very different, both very exciting. But
so actually, when we did that benefit in 2020, that was also a drag show.
That's the one drag
was.
show I've ever been to. Yes.
Drag and burlesque.
Yes.
Drag and burlesque. Everyone.
Drag and burlesque.
oh,
True.
let's start there. Oh, that's a great jumping off point. So there's a huge difference, I would say, between drag and burlesque, but
Yes.
it's important to indicate drag and burlesque instead of just a drag show. Do you want to kind of walk us through that just so we better understand? Because like I said, and I kind of started this, I almost coached them by saying, we know nothing. So we're kind of completely blind.
Specifically,
Can you
We're
show
like
us how to get to Sesame Street?
Specifically,
We're gonna
like think
need-
of me as like the perfect audience for this learning that you're about to put on, because
Yeah.
I am like privileged white conservative grown up kid who has begun to found himself as an adult. Who knows nothing about any of this shit.
We want to ask all of the I don't know this and now I'm too afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
It's too late. It's too late to ask.
So yeah, let's start with that, because I don't think you were offended, but there was a like very cautionary warning to the whole like drag versus burlesque thing. And so I'm going to be like, okay, what's the difference?
Yeah. So I would say both are like performance pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drag is more of what's the word I'm looking for? It's more about exaggerating features. So you have drag kings and drag queens, and drag queens are more like exaggerating but also admiring the features of like female or like, let me say femme instead. And then drag kings are exaggerating but admiring masculine. Yeah. And
Okay.
oftentimes with drag kings, a lot of the times I see that people are playing with gender identity. A lot of them are probably trans in some way or non-binary. Drag queens, you'll see the same where people are just playing with gender identity, but I wouldn't say that a lot of drag queens are trans. I might be wrong on that, but I don't know what the statistics are, but that's what I usually find. Now, burlesque, on the other hand, burlesque is like a fancier form of stripping. It's like a more socially acceptable stripping. So a lot like traditional burlesque will have very fancy costumes. Everything's rhinestone and bedazzled.
We've seen burlesque with Christina Aguilera and Cher. Right?
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like that, but not at all.
Okay, well, that I know that movie is like ridiculous and also camp,
Yeah.
but
I love it. I love it. I'd
It's
say
so good.
if you've seen like Mrs. Maisel, the newest season, that actually brings on burlesque performers.
Yeah, my
And
parents love that show.
yeah, some of that is like, I don't know how they could do that unless you're in like a Las Vegas burlesque show, but I would say that's probably more comparable in the media to what real burlesque or like traditional burlesque is. Now, if you come over in Cincinnati, we got a little thing called Smoking Queers. We do not do traditional burlesque. We just come up with some random ass things and take our clothes off. Like,
hell yeah,
it's fucking wild. I love it.
When you say come up with a random ass thing, you mean like
somebody dressed up as Pooh, like Winnie the Pooh.
Nice.
Ruined
nice.
our
Okay.
childhood. Killed Tigger on stage. Poured fake blood all over themselves, but twerked. Okay, like it's one of my favorite acts I've ever seen.
Wow.
That is unhinged.
That would honestly.
And Disney was worried about it reaching public distribution.
All right, yeah. So maybe I should call that like Winnie the Boob or something. So
No.
there's not like
Disney
copyright
is
It's public domain now.
It's public domain. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Winnie the Pooh is public domain. So
That's why there's that horror movie coming.
Yeah.
Because it's public domain. Have you seen the trailer?
No, what are you talking about?
It's fucking weird. Look it up after this.
What's it called?
It's like, hold on, I'm the fact checker. So
I think it's called like
Blood and Honey.
Blood and Honey. There it is. Yeah.
Is it about Winnie the Pooh?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, honey.
The plot is Christopher Robin has abandoned the toys in the 100-Acre Woods, and they come looking for him because they're hungry because no one's fed them, and they eat people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there are absolutely terrifying masks. Your classic like slasher mask, but it's orange, or it's like a yellow bear.
This is a very real thing, folks. You can look it up.
Oh my god.
It's
That's
nuts.
what happens when Winnie the Pooh becomes public domain.
I love
Exactly.
it. Well, I mean, it was based off of a book first, right? Like,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
book
it
series
was a book
is
series.
precious.
So, anyways,
Disney has never written an original script. We can all agree on
right,
that.
right.
True.
Anyway,
But yeah.
getting back on topic. One of the things that sort of interested me within that first question about drag versus burlesque, more so honing in on the drag part, people kind of experimenting with gender identity and stuff, but to that point, none of that is gender exclusive. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter how you identify gender wise, you can participate in any of the comeuppance that goes into either of those styles of performance. Correct.
And the thing,
Yeah, there's a couple assigned female at birth drag queens out there, but we could go on the topic of how RuPaul is kind of
RuPaul got himself in some hot water, baby.
This is
Gosh.
entertain this. We encapsulate all things
All
entertainment.
things entertainment.
yeah.
Spill the RuPaul tea.
So if you're RuPaul making rules about drag queens, you probably don't want AFAB women or AFAB people doing drag queen, but that's just like a RuPaul. But also RuPaul doesn't like trans women doing drag. So
Oof.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying, like, I only want assigned male at birth people like on this show.
yeah.
People were like, what? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to gatekeep an entire thing.
Yeah.
well, and the thing that I found really interesting from what you had said earlier, Hattie, was that like drag king and drag queen is just encapsulating like the different like gender aspects of what you want to emphasize, and that's something I've never heard before.
Yeah. It's really just about the admiration and exaggeration of of genders.
Yeah.
And then there's also this in between, like, I play around with drag king stuff every once in a while, but it's spelled Q-I-N-G, so it combines king and queen, and a lot of non-binary people use that. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I will not be using that. I'll just say I dabble in drag sometimes,
Drag
Right.
queen.
I don't know how to pronounce it. But there's different ways, like, yeah, it's a wild world, like you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because like the way that it seemingly, to me at least, is like presented in like media and anything really is that traditional male, like assigned at birth, presenting as like over the top femme, and that's like all I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of kind of destructive stereotypes around drag racing that like you have to be a man who was, you know, identified at birth, and you have to like be you know, LGBTQ, and I don't think any of that's really the case, because it feels more like it's an open community where anyone can partake if they wish to.
It is open. There aren't a lot of people who are hetero who do drag. I mean, us as the Alphabet Mafia are open to it, but
Of course.
but you have to do it like
The Alphabet Mafia is so good, actually.
I spend a lot of time on TikTok. Okay, like, I do not have an original thought. It is all from TikTok.
But there
It's new
is
to
like
us.
this strong, like pervasive mood now of queer culture being like a whole fucking thing
Mm-hmm.
with like all these assets, and you know, drag and burlesque are a big part of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would definitely also say TikTok has helped move that culture. I would say we've always had the culture, but we haven't had it as public as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's not as, it's more digestible for the public eye. I don't know. Is that a good way to phrase it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I mean,
think-
you watch a movie like Paris is Burning, and you see the drag culture being almost like a place of fear sometimes because of the police, because of the AIDS crisis. And we've just come such a long way from that there's like so much joy in it now.
I mean,
It's almost
recently
like being
was-
reclaimed.
What was the movie that came out on Netflix maybe last year where it was a bunch of Dolly Parton impersonators?
Dumplin'?
Dumplin'.
Oh no, Dumplin's different.
Oh yeah.
No,
It's
I
not Dolly
think
Parton
you are thinking of
impersonators.
Dumplin'.
It was Dumplin'. Yeah.
No,
But they're not
Dumplin' has
impersonating.
queens.
There are
who
queens.
do Dolly Parton numbers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that. Yes.
And
That
one
movie's
of
a
the
moment.
one of the like protagonist's main sort of emotional support comes from the confidence given to her by one of the queens, which is like a
So
huge part of it. It's one of those movies where, like you said, we've come to a point where society finds joy and comfort in drag, which is something that we couldn't have said so long ago. You know,
I hate to say this, but I will give RuPaul that. So I'll give RuPaul that RuPaul has made it more digestible for people who otherwise wouldn't be exposed to it. Also, side note, I am from Central Kentucky, and if it hadn't have been for RuPaul's Drag Race, I never would have gotten to see a drag queen when I was like in high school or middle school. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So thank you, RuPaul, for that. But RuPaul,
nothing
change your
else.
shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like-
Right. It's like the way that Ellen normalized like gay women
a
dancing on
lesbian.
TV, but she's also a piece of shit.
Right.
yeah. Like, come on, Ellen, get it together.
Same hat.
Yeah. So
kind of getting into the culture around just, you know, burlesque and drag in general, sort of an Ask the Experts segment. Is there any kind of like background that you could fill us in on about drag and burlesque, and just like its introduction into popular culture? Is obviously RuPaul, but like even before that, because RuPaul didn't start drag. So kind of the origins.
actually our Fringe show, well, not Fringe show, but the Fringe Festival,
Yeah.
introduced me to an individual named William Dorsey Swan, who is the first credited drag queen in America, and they're from like the 1800s and died early 1900s. So that's like one of the first recorded drag queens.
And he was a
and-
slave.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that show was very informative.
It really was.
So there's that one. Burlesque, I honestly don't know the origins of it. I'm really sorry. I know it's been going on for a really long time. Like, you can date it back to Josephine Baker, who was a burlesque dancer and actress and did all kinds of shit. She's amazing. I think Was she a spy? I might be getting her confused. I think she might have been a spy.
To Google.
To Google, check out Josephine Baker. But I don't know what the origin of burlesque was. Probably like
The first-
vaudeville and shit.
The first Black woman
Yes.
to star in a major motion picture.
Wow.
Work.
Yeah, Josephine Baker is incredible.
Who-
That's amazing.
There was a burlesque performer who they based the character of Betty Boop off of. That's like a huge story about like whitewashing and not allowing for people of color to be properly portrayed in like 1930s, 40s era cartooning.
Right.
I feel like I've heard of this, but I cannot think of it off of the top of my head.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, it's been a long history. It's just like a fancy way to do stripping.
yeah.
it's very similar to the vibes you get from the shows in Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, even though those women are wearing a lot of clothes, you can see their ankles and their cleavage, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like,
so
that's all they got.
I mean, if we're going with that, you could probably trace burlesque back to even like can dancers.
Mhm.
Right.
Like, it's been going on forever. It's just been called different things, you know?
Yeah. A cursory Google search says burlesque originated in the 17th century from Italian theater. It was
Italian
like a type,
theater.
Of course, it's the
yeah, which it
Italians.
was a type of comic interlude where burla means a joke or mockery. And
So
often,
burlesque just means like a
sexy
mockery
joke.
A
dancer.
sexy joke. Which makes sense because if you see like traditional burlesque dancers, they're usually like funny in some way.
yeah,
Yeah.
But, like,
They've got some kind of shtick.
yeah.
Yeah,
My
it's like,
shtick
I'm-
is stinging. No, but
And the pasties.
Mm.
yep.
Did you say
I have-
stinging or stinging? Did I mishear you there?
Singing.
Singing, not
Yeah.
stinging, not stinging.
Singing.
No.
Okay.
Unless they're into it.
I'm not.
Fair. Totally fair.
Going back to pasties, though, my favorite thing about burlesque is figuring out how to make something into a pasty. And my favorite thing that I've done is tiny cowboy hats.
incredible.
Yes.
Tiny
Was it
cowboy
Fabric
hat.
tape that finally did it for you?
Carpet tape.
Carpet tape.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta get creative.
Yeah.
That sounds so painful.
It's really not when everything is just sweaty. Like, it's just like, all right,
Just
great.
schlicks
Put some
off at
tape
that
on it.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
So there's been a lot of both burlesque and drag, and we kind of touched on this before, but like in popular culture, like I think of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, for example, was a prominent figure, I think in the 90s, even before RuPaul kind of sunk their claws into drag and made it their own. But
Well, RuPaul's been a drag queen for a very long time. Like, they've been a drag queen since the 70s.
They just haven't always been so famous.
Yeah, they were in a movie called But I'm a Cheerleader, and that was from the 90s. So they've been making movies since at least the 90s, and I'm pretty sure they've been a drag queen like 70s, early 80s. Like, they've been on the scene for a long time.
The Hedwig movie with John Cameron Mitchell came out in 2001.
wow.
I
Yeah,
know.
so RuPaul is an elder queen.
I enjoy talking about queens as though they're wizards, so they can reach the status of like elder. Go to the
Elder queen
elders
on the
and,
High
and
Council.
seek counsel from the elder queens. Only
Yeah.
then
And
will
the council
show you
is
the
like
way.
RuPaul, Jay from America's Next Top Model, and like
Yes.
Demi Lovato.
Why Demi Lovato?
I'm pretty sure they've been a guest judge on Drag Race.
That would
I
make
could be wrong,
sense.
but I'm pretty sure.
I'm just wondering what their actions to lead them to elder queen status was, if any.
Demi? No, that's just like a thing that they do in America's or in RuPaul's Drag Race, is they just like to have like guest judges.
No, I
Yeah,
get
so
that, but
Demi
you
would
assign
be a
them.
guest.
Oh,
Yeah, a
a
guest elder.
queen.
A guest
Okay.
elder.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Honorary guest elder queen is Demi
Yes.
Lovato.
Although
So-
Demi's doing more of a drag king thing these days,
Fair.
for sure.
Fair. So,
Yeah.
Hattie, you had talked about being from, the middle of Kentucky and watching RuPaul. Was there any other like popular culture pieces that kind of inspired you in any way, like any other form of entertainment that sort of led to your wanting to pursue this form of entertainment?
Not when I was younger. It just kind of happened.
Okay.
So, but like when I was younger, so my mom swears she's not queer, but
That's the best way any story I've ever heard has started.
yeah,
But-
my mom is a heterosexual woman, but she introduced me to Melissa Etheridge, the Indigo Girls, Ellen, and when RuPaul's Drag Race came out, she was the one who was excited about it, and we watched RuPaul's Drag Race together.
Your mom's a lesbian.
Respectfully.
Nah.
Nah.
I mean, we're all a little bit queer, so maybe
It's a spectrum.
all.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so she was the one who introduced me to all of that, but me getting into burlesque, I just kind of saw a Smoke and Queer show one day and I was like, you know what? I could do that. Which is wild because when I was younger, I never would have shown my body. Like even going to the pool, I would see dimples on my thighs and I would like freak out. And of course grew up in the early 2000s, so that body dysmorphia shit was alive and well. Thank you, Kate Moss and skinny supermodels. And low-rise jeans. Thank you so much for all that.
May they never come back.
Right, please, God, I'm begging. So, going back to it, it's just it's wild to think that I was that type of kid who wouldn't show any skin, and now I'm like, yeah, let me just show my titties all over the state of Kentucky and Ohio.
And you did have a pretty solid performing background already because, as insiders may know, Hattie has an education from NKU, such as yourself.
Yeah.
So you already perform, you already do theater, and then you see these people that are just up on stage, like unashamedly doing their thing, making people laugh, getting some dollar bills, and celebrating their own body. And that is a very powerful thing. I think a lot of it is about empowerment and body positivity.
100%.
So
100%.
So for you, was it like something that you just slowly discovered over time about yourself and that like discovering that confidence, or did you have like any particular moment that you remember that was like, oh, I get this now?
Do you mean leading me to do burlesque or just like...
Or like any moment where you felt like you had that confidence to be able to do that, where it's like you kind of left behind that bit of yourself from when you were growing up? Because like full disclosure, for me, I would love to have that sort of confidence, but like you said, that body dysmorphia is fucking real. Like, I freak the fuck out whenever a shirt is just too tight in the wrong places, and it's just like I have breakdowns over it. And it's just like I can't imagine getting up on stage and doing something like that.
Okay, fair. I used to 100% be the same way. But okay, so with the burlesque thing, I saw it and I was like, I could do that. Like, I could see myself doing that. And then the first show I did, I didn't think I was going to show, like, go down to pasties. And then, like, of course, there was a costume malfunction. I was like, fuck it. We're just taking the bra off. Let's go. So.
What's a live show without a costume malfunction?
So
right?
true.
Like. I had a really bad one at the beginning of June. Like, my pasty just popped off. Like,
bye.
And I'm like, like, oh man.
And that's the last resort too. It's like,
Yeah.
That's the last line of defense.
I luckily had a flag that I was like, I was trying to come out as non-binary in this, and then like I luckily had that, and I was like, okay, a flag's going over the titties.
Okay, that's such a moment though. You used a burlesque show to be like a coming out moment.
Yeah. I don't know if
I
a
love
lot of
that.
people know that or not, but like that was
That was the intention.
that was a moment. That was the intention. And instead my titty came out. Like
Right. What are you
Why
gonna
not
do?
both? Is my question.
Exactly.
Why can't both be celebrated? In tandem.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I love the word tandem. It's so good.
So-
so go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I would kind of want to talk more about smoking queers and how
Smoke
you
and queers. Just in case you're gonna look 'em up later.
Ah,
Right,
There you
exactly.
go.
Gotta
Yeah.
put a
Thank
nice
you.
little plug.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Check
Well,
them out on Instagram.
there may be a large section of the show devoted to them, but we'll see where the conversation leads. I want to talk about how you were kind of introduced to them, what they do, who they are, and how long they've been around, and how they were formed, and everything like that. So if you just kind of want to go on a tangent,
Yeah, great. I
those
love
are the
it.
questions I have.
Okay, so Smoke and Queer started in, I think it was 2019. I think it was 3 friends were sitting around together and they were like, you know what, let's start a burlesque troupe. So they did.
So it's a relatively new organization.
Yeah, it's like 3 years old. There
Hey,
has been
That's how
A
old this
lot of-
podcast is.
Aw.
their birthday is April 20th. When it first 420 everyone.
Hey, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, so when it first started out, literally there was hardly anybody that came out. Now we are constantly getting new people in. It's a large organization. A lot of people are associated. Leadership has changed. Right before quarantine. So I was introduced because of an ex. This person that I was seeing, that they were like, hey, have you heard of Smoking Queers? Like, you should go to one of their shows. So out of spite, because they were being a little weird, I went to one of their shows and I was like, hey, you know what? I can do this.
Incredible.
So anyways,
Character arc.
it was out of spite 100%. Just kidding. I love doing it. It's like my favorite thing.
But
So
sometimes
then,
we fall into things out of an act of spite.
right, and I love doing shit out of spite, let me tell you.
Yep.
So then 2020 happened. We had this, it was called our Slumber Party show, and it was a big production. It was amazing. It was at Urban Artifact. And then March 2020 happened and everything got shut down. So that really was a challenge for us because we had all this momentum. Like, we were growing, had these huge shows, had so many things in the works. And then everything just came to a stop. So then we were like, what are we going to do? And we made a video show for the quarantine season.
Right.
Yeah. And then Texas Annie was actually in that. Like, there's a Moan Ranger rap that was featured.
Yes. A music
Um,
video.
Yeah. And it was
Incredibly well
featured in this. Yeah. So that happened. And then 2021 happened and we were back in action starting last June. And yeah. And it's just kind of been growing ever since. Smoking Queers introduced a drag king night. It's the only drag king night in Cincinnati.
Work.
And we have it every other month at Good Judy's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you have a few venues that you kind of go between.
Yeah, so we our home base is Mixwell's of Northside. Drag King Night is at Good Judy's. Good Judy's is just too small for our burlesque shows. Mixwell's is honestly too small for our burlesque shows. We bring in a lot of people. It is absolutely wild to see Like the energy for a burlesque show is just like spectacular. Another tangent too, well, not really a tangent, but like to connect the dots. When I first started with Smoking Queers, there were only like 2 burlesque troops in Cincinnati. You had Sin City Burlesque, and then you had Smoking Queers, and Smoking Queers was the amateur group. And now there are like 4 or 5 troops in Cincinnati.
Trendsetters.
It's wild. So we're an amateur troupe, but we also do neo burlesque, which is when I said earlier we do just like wild shit, like the Bloody Pooh Bear. Like
I was gonna ask if you'd classify Bloody Pooh Bear as neo burlesque. I'm glad that it does fit that description.
Yeah.
The more out there shit.
Yeah, we do weird shit, and it's awesome. But also, we're the only dedicated to not dedicated to, specifically queer burlesque troupe. All the others might have like straight people in them, but ours is specifically queer. It is a queer community. It is here to help the queer community, to bring people together. That is what we do.
And, you know, speaking of community, do you feel like you've kind of found a group of people, like, because you have this common interest, obviously you already have like a gateway to conversation, but do you feel like you've made like some real connections through this group?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's actually because of how many people who identify as non-binary are in the group. It's one of the reasons why I realized, oh hey, I'm not cis.
Amazing.
I am non-binary. And it's like, because I actually came out late too. Like I came out 23. It was after a really bad breakup with a dude. And so I came out late. I didn't have the queer community that other people had developed who had came out earlier. So this is like my queer community, my queer family, like my chosen family. Mm-hmm. We have like a couple group chats, and I will literally just, when life's hitting the fan, I'll just be like, can I rant to y'all today? And just like start crying to them in the group chat. Like
they're like, yeah, we've seen your rainbow pasty titties. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do
it. Tell us anything.
One of my cats, actually, Banjo, I got him from another performer. So like there's just like all these connections. It's a great little community. And I'm really glad I found them.
That's so cool. So you guys have a number of shows. It sounds like some are bigger than others. Mm-hmm. Is there like so there are series, right? Shows that are in a series, so they happen repetitively, like maybe once a month or something like that. But then are there also like big shows that you guys are like, and this is our, big show for the summer, or this is our big show for, Halloween, or this is our big show for something? Or does it stay kind of in that series of shows that you guys do?
I would say we have some that are traditions. Like our birthday show is a big show.
420?
And then it's a 420 show. And then we have a Christmas show every year. That's a pretty big deal. And probably our Halloween show, because gays love Halloween. I don't know if you know this, but
it's Christmas for the gays.
Yeah, it is the best day ever.
Just something about wearing a costume.
Who knew? Yeah, so I would say those are pretty big shows. And then I think we're going to try to do a Yeehaw show annually.
Hey,
and you will obviously be the star.
Yes. Last year, I debuted my yodeling.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but gays love yodeling.
Is that something that you could do for us? Could we hear you yodel?
I am not going to yodel on this show today. I'm so sorry. But if you check out my TikTok,
yes,
I was really
my yodeling.
Honestly, if you tried to yodel, you'd probably be so hot on the mic, it would be impossible to actually play it. So I appreciate you in not entertaining me with that, because definitely would have caused problems later on. But you guys should definitely check it out. We'll provide links in the show notes to some cool stuff that Hattie wants to provide us. awesome.
Yes.
So-
but yeah, I
Who knew?
debuted my
The
yodeling.
yodeling.
I get so
Nice.
many tips. I've done it twice now in Cincinnati, and each time I just get so many tips, and I'm like, what? Why
It's
y'all like
impressive.
yodeling?
It's hilarious.
We have a
Like, people-
performer.
time.
People
have
do
a
not
performer.
expect you to yodel.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a performer who came from the middle of Kentucky and brought yodeling with them. In case you didn't know, from the heart of Kentucky,
The good old bluegrass, am I right?
yodeling.
Honestly,
Here
I
it
think
is.
that is my city's like our little tagline, the heart of Kentucky.
Aww.
So you're not wrong.
Nailed that
Wow!
one.
Yodeling straight from the heart of Kentucky, brought to you
Yeah.
by Hattie.
You're
That's
very
awesome.
welcome.
So my next question, it kind of was going along with the train of thought that I was leading down the productions of the shows that you guys do. So if there are these bigger shows, what does it look like to put on one of these shows? Is it like you say about like your community that you guys are so tight knit? Is it like a group effort for like rehearsal and setup and venue and all of that, like funding? Or is it like you guys go your separate ways and then show up one day with your acts that you guys have all prepared?
So when I first started, we did that. We did like a run through for the slumber party show. But that was like a really big production. Like we had like a storyline going on and all kinds of shit. Like
More like a cabaret at that
Wow.
point.
yeah, it was more of
Ooh.
a cabaret style. And then 2020 happened and we lost that trajectory. But now we just kind of like, all right, we're going to do this theme show and then y'all just show up with your shit. So we're back to that now.
Is there like a
But-
core group of people who run like the funding, the venue organization, stuff like that?
There's one person who does all of that stuff. We do have people who want to help out and like offer help as needed. But yeah, there's one person who's in charge of all of that. And she is our founder. It's a lot to take on. But
Yeah.
I feel like we have some bigger shows. Like we did something for Planned Parenthood, and then that one she definitely wanted more experienced people to do that because that's a big name, you know?
Absolutely.
There are certain events where she wants specific people to do. Well, I wouldn't say specific people, just like expects a certain level of performance
Polish.
ability. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope yodeling's on that list because it ought to be.
Yodel
is-
is an instant in.
Mhm.
So speaking of yodeling, I had the person from Lexington reach out to me and they specifically wanted me to yodel.
They were like, we saw
Last
your
month.
TikTok.
I've like worked with them and they've seen my yodel and they were like, I want you to do it for this show in June because they had a country show in June. And I was like, that is the day of Pride, the Cincy Pride. I'm not bringing my yodeling down to Lexington for that, but I'm going to take it down this month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they couldn't
Pack
have
up-
you for June, but
Yeah.
they can wait.
Pack up the yodel and carry it down.
We'll start.
It's a bandana tied to a stick.
Yep. You're right.
I like to imagine the like packing that you have to do for that is just like holding up a like piece of cloth and just screaming into it and tying it real quick.
Yes.
Like, I got it.
Okay, tie it.
And
Yeah.
nobody open that.
That's
Awesome.
the yodel. You can't let that go.
Can't let the yodel
I need
out.
that for later.
Right. That's so cool. So it sounds like you guys thankfully survived the onslaught of what COVID-19 did for a lot of performing
When
groups,
probably so many did not survive.
which
Yeah.
is great to hear. Was it
We-
like different during that time? Like what were you guys, you kind of talked on how you guys did like a virtual show maybe
Yeah.
to kind of make it through?
We almost didn't survive. Like at the beginning of, I think it was 2021, we got this email saying, like, we had 4 people who were running it. 3 of them left. 2 went to LA. 1 just took a step back. And then the other one was like, all right, I'll see y'all later. And then when we came back, I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, thank God I needed this group so much. So I was very thankful that it came back. But yes, 2020 was a challenge. We did one virtual show, which was interesting. A lot of people did virtual shows. Like a lot of drag queens did virtual shows. And then a lot of other burlesque and drag king performers try to do burlesque or virtual shows, like Zoom shows and stuff. And it's just really hard. It's really hard to do.
Yeah. It's not the same. It's so much about the energy of the
not.
crowd.
Yeah, it
It's
feels
not
like
at
you
all.
almost feed off of the energy of the crowd in these kinds of
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah, 100%. Like, so for the Smoke of Queers virtual show, it was like a whole production. Like people filmed their own things and sent them in and they put them together. So like my roommate and I did a music video in our living room that turned out amazing. But so it was totally different than the Zoom shows, which you would have a live audience, but you couldn't hear the live audience. So that's like, because I've done open mics. Yeah. I've done open mics through Zoom, and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm glad I'm not doing this anymore. But yeah, you gotta make get your name out there somehow and keep going. But it was definitely a challenge. And yeah, not having the audience there is just like,
so we talked before we went live a little bit, especially to Michael, because we were kind of talking about this concept of like getting a queer education and like understanding the facets of the culture. So
need that.
I
need
think
that.
We should spend a few just talking about the essential pieces of media that any Alphabet Mafia member is going to need to digest if they truly want to know what's good. And my number one personally would be The Birdcage, the movie.
The Birdcage, okay.
Yes. It
Keeping
is
notes.
It's a great film.
So cute. It's Nathan Lane and Robin Williams. They are a couple, and they run like a drag burlesque club together. And
I remember
this movie came out the year I was born.
Yes, I've seen bits and pieces of this movie. Yes,
it's based off of a French film called La
Cage aux Folles, which became a Broadway show. Yeah, La Cage.
Yeah, it's really good.
Does that mean the bird? That means the birdcage in French.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen both. I can't remember if I've watched the French one or not, but I think I have. I've seen at least parts of it, but yeah, both are really good. Another fun fact
on HBO
about,
Max, by the way.
Yeah, and another fun fact about the Birdcage, the bar in Cincinnati called the Birdcage is named after the movie The Birdcage.
Oh, nice.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Check that out while you're in town. Don't look for us, though. We don't want to meet you. If we wanted to meet you, we'd set up a meet and greet.
True.
Just kidding. Just kidding. You guys don't know what we look like anyway. This is a podcast.
People run into me now and they're like, "Were you on that French show?" And I'm like,
"Yes, I'm famous."
Wow, thank you. So cool.
Let's see. So the Birdcage, definitely. We already mentioned Paris is Burning. That's
right,
more
that's an
of
essential.
Like, yeah, that's a historical documentary about, underground drag shows.
It's called Ballroom. It's not 100% drag because some of it is trans. Like people are trans and they're going and they're dancing ballroom and Vogue.
Okay, so that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah. Is ballroom and Vogue a part of drag culture? Yes. But a lot of that is definitely more of the trans community.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, it is a very excellent documentary. I would definitely recommend that.
If I can walk you guys through where I'm at right now, is I'm desperately trying to get to the name of something that's on the tip of my tongue. and I could not get to it. So here's what I did was I remembered that one of the actresses in the original Broadway cast was on a TV show that I liked. So I looked up the TV show, went to the cast list, found her name, Googled her, looked at what she's been in, and found it. And it was Cabaret, and I used Liza Minnelli.
You've embarrassed all gay people everywhere.
But I can go on a gay
doing.
tangent about Cabaret. So when I was
Cabaret,
at Kate,
I was gonna say is very burlesque. It feels like
Yeah,
if you need an example.
you could definitely use that. I was also going to say so when I was at NKU, I also studied history, and I studied a lot about the Nazis. Don't ask me why. I don't really know. It's just a fun little hyperfixation I had.
Thing that happens.
So there is a scene in the movie version where they pan out of a hotel, and historically, there was a raid by the Nazis at that hotel or actually it was a resort. Let me specify. It was a resort, and there was a raid of Nazi generals and people, and they were all just having a gay old time. And this raid was like, hey, y'all are gay and we're exposing you. And they pan out of that resort, and it's a specific resort. Yeah. So anyways, gay history with Cabaret.
Yeah, just a little
Oh, wow.
drop
So
in there.
it's historically accurate to an extent, at least for that part.
Yeah.
That's very
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
But yes, Liza Minnelli is a icon.
Yes.
I love Liza.
If we're going to talk about gay icons, then obviously Liza, obviously Barbara Streisand,
Cher.
Cher,
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. I would argue
Thank you.
Judy Garland because,
Oh, yes.
friend of Dorothy.
Mhm,
That's
yes.
the whole thing. I guess if you don't know the origins of that, back in I believe the 80s, they, when Judy Garland became like a gay icon, people would start saying that they were a friend of Dorothy, wink, if they wanted somebody to know, just between them that they were gay. So that became almost like a secret language. So definitely Judy.
What made Judy Garland a gay icon?
Well,
It's just the connection of Dorothy.
it's just, sometimes it's simply vibes. Why is
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand a gay icon? She's not gay.
Why is Liza Minnelli a gay icon?
She's not gay.
Well, I could
We
have
just
said Judy
latch
Garland
on to
for Liza
these
Minnelli, right?
famous, powerful women, and
Dolly
we just
Parton.
make them a moment. Yes, Dolly. Oh my God.
Lady
Dolly
Gaga.
forever.
Yes, I am a little monster.
I have a distinct
absolutely.
understanding of the cultural icons that are, LGBTQ heroes.
Mhm.
Elton
Elton John, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Elton John.
Brandy Carlisle made me gay.
Elton John
literally
was in the
realized-
Country Bears, so could we say the Country Bears? Because I sure would like to. If that's
Country
okay.
Bears are gay icons. Put it in. Oh, that's amazing. Let's see.
What else was I gonna say? Beyonce.
Definitely Queen Bee.
I feel like lesbians love Nicki Minaj, which we can go on a tangent about problematic Nicki
We sure
Minaj's.
should.
But I feel like lesbians attached to Nicki Minaj. And another one that is surprising that lesbians attach onto, Justin Bieber?
Maybe because he looks like a lesbian.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know how some boys just look like lesbians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I get
Well-
disappointed that they're not a lesbian every time.
Well, and the thing is though, is like he was coming up as when
Alex
Ellen-
looks so confused.
I feel unsafe to speak in this conversation as a cisgendered straight white male. I just want an understanding of the culture so that I am not ignorant. This feels like landmines for me. Tightrope walk.
This is a safe space. It's okay.
but the internet is not.
True.
I'm just
Michael, what were you
here.
gonna
I'm
say?
here to absorb information and take it in and just understand. That's what I'm
So
here
true,
for.
bestie.
And to assign the Country Bears as an LGBTQ
Yeah.
icon.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Of course.
Because
Which
I
is
feel like that's
unarguable.
fair.
I
Do you
feel like
know-
this is not the first time we've made that statement as the country bear.
Probably not. I don't give a fuck. It's as true now as it was the last time we said it.
Do you know what other Disney person that is like a gay icon? Stitch.
Is it-
Stitch? Stitch is a non-binary
Oh.
icon. I don't
Yes.
care what anybody says.
Yes.
Non-binary icon.
I love Lilo and Stitch.
Well,
It's
that-
absolutely one of my
They
favorites.
that
tried
is
to gender assign when
Well,
they
yeah, I was
brought
gonna
up
say.
Stitch's girlfriend, quote
Yeah.
unquote. But
Cringe.
Yeah, I was gonna
we're
say,
talking about OG Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
We're not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
any
yeah.
sequels or spinoffs.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say like Justin Bieber's probably seen as like a lesbian icon because at the time of him coming up, who was the most notable lesbian? It was Ellen.
Oh
Like,
my
And they had
god!
the same
And-
hair.
Right.
They've got the exact same hair, very similar
Style.
bone
True.
structure,
Yeah.
the same like body type.
Also,
You
they were
forgot
both
Freddie
being
Mercury,
ridiculed by
too.
straight white men almost unendlessly. So yeah,
Mhm.
I will say this though, if you're a drag king, I love it when a drag king has Justin Bieber energy.
What does that
Like-
mean? What does that
like-
even mean?
There's like a swag that comes with like men, like pop men. Like what am I trying to say? Men who sing pop music, like Justin Bieber's or
Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake's.
Oh,
They just
okay.
have like a swag and like
Mhm.
this attitude
yeah.
that
the boy band energy.
exactly like
I
even
feel
Harry,
like
Harry
Big Time
Styles
Rush.
is who I want to be.
Oh, same.
Harry Styles
Yeah.
is also
Like-
a gay icon.
Yeah.
Harry Styles is a gay
Um,
icon.
I feel like
Harry
that,
Styles
that
wears
pop,
a toupee.
I feel like that pop energy you're referring to is like a straight white male's ability to do a body roll.
yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
like being able to be like one of
Yeah.
those. If you could pop that off real well, you got pop energy. You got it.
That's
I
true.
feel, to be fair, I feel like I've developed that mentality from Haley Kiyoko because Haley
Mm.
Kiyoko has said a quote
lesbian
like
icon.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, she's lesbian Jesus.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. We needed that context.
But she
Um,
has actually said a quote, something about like comparing herself to Justin Bieber, but I can't remember what the quote is.
Just in terms of vibes.
Yeah.
We also forgot about like Diana Ross. I'm coming out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
like
yeah.
Tina Turner. Tina Turner's a
Britney
huge gay
Spears,
icon.
maybe, and for a little
Definitely
Oh.
Britney.
Godney, yes. Another
Godney,
person
thank
too
you.
is Madonna.
Madonna, yes.
If it wasn't
Mm.
Madonna is one of those who with the song Vogue, she
Come on.
Vogue and
Vogue.
Ballroom Underground Paris is Burning had been happening for forever, but Madonna with Vogue is one of the reasons why it was brought to the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor fought for the AIDS pandemic.
Yeah,
Dang.
she was very cool. Who am I thinking of? Oh, fuck. I'm so sorry. We're just gonna
You
have to edit
got
this
you got
out.
a description?
David
We're not
Bowie.
editing this out.
Oh
This
yeah,
is live.
David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
Sick.
Of course, David Bowie.
It's
David Bowie
interesting
forever.
because when
And
we name
Prince,
these,
like these interesting, like gender androgynous men.
Oh, I
Yeah.
could go on a tangent about Prince.
Sit.
Like Prince was like a he was like this weird, like not a weird religion, but Jehovah's Witness.
Mhm.
And once he like started getting really hardcore into that, he stopped singing songs like Little Red Corvette because Little Red Corvette's about vaginas. So
Yeah, he went down a weird path.
yeah,
He
he's
was on
been
New
on a
Girl.
lot of interesting.
It wasn't.
Yeah. And he specifically asked to be on New Girl.
Because he
liked
loved
New
it
Girl.
so much.
Yeah.
So cute. Can you imagine
Awesome.
being like, "Hey, this is my favorite show. Can I be on it?" And they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, you're Prince."
Yeah.
could you imagine being the writers of New Girl going, I don't know what we're gonna do to up our game, and then Prince walks in,
He's like, "I really want to be on your show."
and we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
All
I
right.
would
write the
listen to that shit.
episode, do whatever you want,
Also-
take it all, take my money,
Also, you
take my
should
car.
double check me on that statement that I made about Prince because I think that's a fun fact that my parents told me, but I've never actually Googled it.
Let's fact check real quick. While Chloe's fact checking that, let's kind of wrap up by saying it's interesting how, by going through these icons, we've kind of tracked the history of sort of the introduction of the LGBTQ community into the mainstream, at least in recent times, because for a while it was so underground and sort of, you know, there was a way that America used to be that, specifically for us, because I can't speak on any other society, but where it was like secret and something that wasn't meant to be spoken about and taboo in a way. But through the people who we've been speaking about, it's been introduced into society, and because of that, now stuff like smoke and queers can exist because the mainstream wants it. It's something that we're accustomed to and that we have a taste for, and now it's something that we enjoy, and it doesn't have to be something that has to be done in a basement. And you have to be invited to because it has to be hidden from protest and from, general violence, which is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We still get hate crime though. Like,
Definitely still happens.
Yeah, because some people are party poopers and they suck.
Talk about gay icons. If we want to talk about a riot, we could talk about Marsha P. Johnson. But
yes, 100%. And what was her name? Sylvia. I can't think of her last name. It was two trans women. It was Marsha and I think her name's Sylvia. And
you were absolutely right about Prince, by the way.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad that's a real fact that my parents told me.
Everyone in his life was like, what?
Incredible.
Serious?
Yeah, that's wild. That's a
You're literally wearing a leather thong right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
that's because it's all that was clean. It's laundry day. Don't judge. Anyway,
I feel like if things were different when Prince was coming up, he probably would identify as non-binary because he just gives like non-binary energy. Absolutely. And he discovered Janelle Monáe, and Janelle Monáe is non-binary.
Yes. I feel like Prince was the first person to be like, this is what gender fluid looks like.
Yeah.
True. Well, when we get back from this musical interlude, Chloe's got a quick this for us. And who knows where it's going to go? We'll be right back. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
Still joining us, Hattie. Thank you for continuing to follow along in this crazy train that we're riding.
I'm
Chloe.
ready for my quickness if somebody wants to pull up a timer.
You got a quick this for us? Yes.
This is my current hyperfixation, so.
All right. I got you.
What I'm going to talk about, yeah.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah. I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Today, I would like to talk to you about a game brought to us by Peachy Keen Games and the White Thorn developers. It came out on December 15th of 2020. It is called Calico. It is available for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PC, and Mac. I personally have been playing it on my laptop. And it is basically a game that you move to this adorable pink saturated valley and you get a cat cafe, and you are tasked with filling the cat cafe with the various animals that you find in the valley. So you begin to explore, and there's this magic in the valley that every animal is approachable. So you start meeting little kitties, and they're like, oh, hi, and you can invite them into your cat cafe. And then you start meeting dogs, and then you go up into the mountain and you're like, you meet a deer, and then you meet a family of polar bears with like the little polar bear babies, and all of these animals are interactable and discoverable and adorable. So you fill your cat cafe and you meet everybody in town. There are a couple of like witches in town. There are a couple of magical owl girls. And there is a mage up on the hill. She lives in a giant fairy bottle, and she accidentally turned herself half cat. Her name is Autumn. And Autumn gives you a bunch of potions in the game. So like one of the potions turns your character, into a big hulking cat figure. One of the potions makes one of the animals like giant, and you can mount these giant animals and ride them through the valley. So like there's this giant hedgehog you can find that you can ride. I personally enjoy riding my Arctic fox mount, and you help this valley like fulfill tasks. You bake people their favorite things because your aunt used to own the cafe, and like she would make the most delicious croissants. So somebody is like, could you make your aunt's old croissants? That used to make my daughter so happy. And then you kind of unlock some other areas of the game. Like there's a whole city that's populated with both people and cats. And you like help the valley rediscover itself and achieve a bunch of tasks. And the whole thing is like pink washed. Like every tree is a cherry blossom tree, and like you can dress up your little character, and you can like furnish the cat cafe the same way you can in like an Animal Crossing or a Stardew Valley moment. And they are they're still working on the game. It's still in development. The creators of Calico are working on this like big summer update where you're going to get to find snow owls and ride the snow owls through the sky. But yeah, that's kind of Calico. I didn't realize I would wrap it up so quickly, but it is an incredibly wholesome game full of adorable animals and adorable little magic girls.
Chloe, go ahead, Alex.
I want to say this not as a deterrer, but more as a someday you will accept it and we will support you. But this is big furry energy.
Fuck.
Mostly the part about the half lady, half cat, and the
you.
potion that turns you into a giant cat
It's
person.
funny because you just run around. You're just like a little cat dude. It's not sexy.
We can agree that- okay, hold on. The furry community is not a sexy community. It can be,
Okay,
but
you're
it doesn't
right.
have to be. That's not what I'm saying.
You're justifying it more than I am. So who's really a furry?
That's because if you do identify as furry, I would still accept you, and I want you to know that. I'm defending you if this is the case. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it. This is more evidence towards the cause.
Why can't I just think that anthropomorphized animals are really cute?
That's what furries
And I just like their
are.
aesthetic.
That is being a furry, is what you just said.
I don't know. I feel like it's so much more of a niche thing. Like, I don't wear a fursuit. I don't like wear ears and tails and stuff.
We need a
Yeah,
furry
I don't
on
wanna
this episode.
be
We need a
one. I don't have a
furry on this show.
fursona.
Is what we need. We need a furry on this show to do a
Y'all
guest.
know any freaks?
Hey now,
Whoa.
Sorry.
freaks.
No, like sexy freaks.
Whoa.
They just
Okay.
have a kink, you know? A
Yeah,
fun...
it's
No
just-
I'm
kink
not kink
shaming.
Yeah, no. Chloe, I'm
Wait.
surprised that you're not more interested in the game that just came out called Stray, where
Stray,
you literally
That was
gonna
exactly what I was gonna. Yep.
you
Don't get
literally
me wrong, I'm
play
very interested.
as a cat, and there are mechanics where you can rub up against. It's a world that is
I know, and you can do
only
the scratchies.
it's only populated by robots, and you can rub up against them, and they like pet you, and you can find scenic places to take a nap, and you can knock things off tables, and there's a whole storyline that goes along with it. I'm surprised that you're not in on that.
Stray.
There's also a
So-
dedicated meow.
Well, it's
button.
out now.
Okay,
There's a
it came out like
dedicated meow
2 days
button.
ago.
Yeah, get on it.
Okay, that'll be my next quick.
We need your expert opinion.
Yeah, we need to know if it's enough like a real cat that we should all give it time. We need to know if we should entertain this.
Hey.
Before we sign off, I want to give a moment to let Hattie sort of plug whatever they wish to plug. So, Hattie, you have the reins. Plug your TikTok, plug your YouTube, or if you have
Okay.
one, plug,
Your
Smoke
upcoming
and Clears
shows.
and all of that, and
Yeah.
upcoming shows.
Oof.
Whatever you got, here's your moment.
Okay. Wait, I have another question before I do.
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Was,
yeah,
it-
yeah,
was I
yeah.
supposed to do another like a quick this too?
That
do that.
happens
Okay,
next
okay.
week. So you just hold on, and we'll work
I'm
it
sorry.
out after this.
I'm going for it. Okay. Anyways, okay. So plugging my shit. So my Instagram and my TikTok are Hattie Cincinnati. Cute.
That's so cute.
My next show in Cincinnati is July 29th at Mixwell's. And then I'm going to Lexington on the 30th. And then I have no idea what the rest of my schedule is like because I don't have it in my Google Calendar right now. But I know those dates. So give Smoke and Queers follow on Instagram.
Yes.
Nice. And they post like showtimes and stuff there.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be super helpful. Sweet. So check them out. Check out Hattie. Hattie, you have been a wonderful guest, and we appreciate you coming on. Now for my spiel. If you like what you listen to here, there are a couple ways that you can support us. First off is you could tell 2 friends. If you tell 2 friends, they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. We'll have the whole world listening by probably the end of this year. I don't know exactly how fast you can tell 2 friends, but if it's fast enough, we get everyone. Another way you can support us is if there's something in the realm of entertainment that we have not covered, then please shoot us your suggestions. We would love to entertain something that maybe we're not familiar with or just something that we didn't think to talk about. Heck, if you give us a good enough idea, we may bring you on the show as a guest spot, just like we did Hattie this week. There are a couple different ways you can reach out to us. Number one is you can go to our website, www.entertainthis.net/ET-podcast. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a little questionnaire that you can fill out there. Or you can find us on Twitter. We are entertain_this. On Instagram, we are entertain this podcast. And on Facebook, we are podcast entertain this. And as always, entertain us so we can entertain you. And you can entertain this. We'll see you guys next Friday. Bye!
Bye!
Special thanks to Hattie for joining us on this special episode of Entertain This. Additional commentary was provided by Chloe Price, Michael Savoya, and Alex Steele. Our theme music is Rush Bubble by Aaron Spencer, with interstitial music by DJ W. Tune in every Friday for new episodes, and thanks for listening.